Long before the silent shadows of the cathedral or the echoing chant of the monastery, there was a darker, older fear that beat in the chest of every human being. It is the question that haunts us when the noise of the world fades away, when the light goes out of my eyes and my body returns to the dust. What becomes of the spark that made me me? Is there a judge? Is there a reckoning? Or is my story simply swallowed by the void? To the ancients who gazed out upon the stark, burning sands of the Nile Delta, the answer was not a mystery to be solved, but a terrifying machinery of law. They believed that death was not an end, but a transition, a crossing from the vibrant, corruptible world of the living to the eternal, still perfection of the afterlife. But the gates of eternity were not open to everyone. To pass through, you had to prove your soul was lighter than a feather. We must look to the land of Kemet, the Black Land, as the Egyptians called it, a civilization of cyclical time and stone-hard eternity. Here, the sun died and was reborn every evening and morning, and the great river flooded and receded in an endless rhythm of creation and destruction. In this worldview, existence was a constant struggle against chaos, against the encroaching sand and the rotting decay. But there was one force that stood between the living and the annihilation of chaos. He was not the king of the gods, nor the bringer of light. He was the guardian of the threshold. He was the lord of the sacred land, the dweller in the embalming tents, the consumer of the unworthy. He is Anubis, the jackal lord, he who is upon his mountain. Imagine, if you can, the landscape of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. It is not a place of fire and torment, but a twilight realm of strange serpents, fiery lakes, and walls of iron. It is a labyrinth of the Sola-'s journey. Here, the deceased, having survived the trials of the night, arrives at the Hall of Two Truths. The ceiling is high, supported by columns that resemble papyrus reeds, shimmering with a light that seems to come from nowhere. The air is thick with the scent of incense and the dry, metallic taste of dust. The silence here is absolute, heavy, watchful. And waiting in the center of this vast hall is a set of Skalisa, the great scales of Masayat. Enter Anubis. He does not sit upon a throne of gold like Osiris, nor does he wear the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. He is lean, muscular, hunched slightly forward in eternal readiness. His skin is black as the fertile Nile silt, black as the night sky, symbolizing rebirth and the decomposing earth. But the facie of the face is that of a jackal, a long, elegant snout, pointed ears pricked to catch the heartbeat of the dead, and eyes that are unblinking, devoid of pity, devoid of rage, filled only with the cold precision of a functionary. He is not here to punish. He is here to measure. In his hand, he holds the Ankh, the key of life. Behind him, shrouded in the shadows of the hall, sits the jury of 42 assessors, terrifying hybrids of beast and man, each holding a curved blade to execute the damned. The soul of the deceased approaches. They have been prepared for this moment. Their body was mummified, their organs removed, preserved in canopic jars by priests wearing Anubis masks. Their mouth was ritually opened so they could speak. Now the soul, in the form of a translucent, glowing bee bird, hovers over the scales. On one side of the great balance, Anubis places the shimmering Harta, the IB. The Egyptians believed the heart was the center of consciousness, the seat of the will, the memory, and the moral character. It is the only organ left inside the mummy, for without it, you cannot navigate the afterlife. On the other side of the scales, Anubis places a single, simple object, the white ostrich feather of Masayat. Masayat is the concept that holds the universe together. She is truth, balance, order, and justice. She is the reason the sun rises and the stars stay in their courses. To live a life in accordance with Masai, that is to live in harmony with the cosmos. To deviate from it is to invite chaos, is fit. Now, in this supreme moment of tension, the heart of the mortal is weighed against the abstract ideal of truth. The scales tremble. The heart is heavy with the burden of a lived life. Every selfish thought, every petty cruelty, every lie, every theft, every moment of greed adds weight to the vessel of the soul. The feather is light, almost weightless, floating in the ether. The deceased stands frozen, watching the beam of the balance, their entire existence condensed into this oscillation of metal. Did they give bread to the hungry? Did they cheat their neighbor? Did they respect the gods? The scales seesaw, dipping toward the heavy heart, hovering, rising again. Anubis watches. He is the scrutineer. He adjusts the plumb line on the scales. He is checking for calibration, checking for a trick of the eye. His face is impassive. If the heart balances with the feather, if it is light enough, the outcome is glorious. The deceased is declared true of voice. They are led forward to the green-skinned Osiris, king of the dead, to inherit the fields of reeds, an eternal paradise of sun and water, where they would plow and harvest and feast forever. But if the heart is heavier, if the heart drags the scales down into the dust of the atmosphere in the hall, changes instantly. Then comes the second monster. From beneath the scales, or from the shadows of the hall floor, she emerges. Ammit, the devourer. She's a nightmare made flesh, a composite of the three most dangerous predators in the Egyptian world. The head of a crocodile, the mane and front legs of a lion, and the body of a hippopotamus. She is not a goddess in the traditional sense. She receives no worship. She is a force of nature, the eater of hearts, the personification of the finality of failure. Anubis does not gloat. He does not scream. He simply gestures. The soul is condemned. The scales have spoken. The heavy heart is thrown from the balance, and Ammit lunges. In a single, snapping motion, the heart is consumed. The soul does not burn in hellfire. It ceases to be. It is annihilated. The second death, the Egyptians called it. No heaven, no memory, no ancestors. Just the silence of non-existence. This is the terror and the beauty of the myth. It is a story that strips away the illusions of power. In life, the pharaoh might be a god-king, surrounded by gold and absolute authority. But in the hall of two truths, stripped of flesh and crown, he is weighed by the same standard as the lowliest peasant. The crocodile and the hippopotamus care nothing for titles. They care only for the weight of the truth. This obsession with the weighing of the heart reveals the Egyptian soul. It tells us that these people viewed ethics not as a way to please a temperamental deity, but as a mechanical necessity for survival. Sin was not just a moral failing, it was a physical weight. It was gravity. It was the thing that dragged you down into the mud. To be virtuous was to be unburdened, to be aerodynamic, capable of rising with the sun god Ra. It suggests a profound psychological insight, that guilt is heavy, that conscience has mass, and that a life of cruelty is a life that drags you down until you are too heavy to lift your wings. The legacy of Anubis and his scales is indelible. He is the original forensic scientist, the first embalmer, the patron of all those who look into the face of death and try to understand it. The image of the scales has never left us. It echoes in the medieval visions of Saint Michael.